What is up, my peepholes? This is your guy, Cly, and welcome back to Budget Tubing. Now today, what I'm going to be taking a look at is the UHURU UM-900 Podcasting Kit. Now the manufacturer reached out asking me if I wanted to take a look at this set, and after looking through everything that was on offer, especially at the price point, I couldn't say no. This set comes in at around the same price point as the Blue Snowball Ice, that being $50, but it comes with a whole lot of bells and whistles. But before we dig into the specifics, I want to take a look at this packaging, because I've taken a look at quite a few microphones at this point, and of course I haven't gotten around to all of them in video form yet, and most of those tend to come in a relatively generic box unless you're talking about one of the big brands like Blue or Samsung. But UHURU seems to have gone above and beyond in their packaging design, and this wouldn't look out of place on the shelf at any of your favorite microphone retailers. Even better is the care they took when packaging everything inside the box. And I'm speaking from experience because there was a time when I ordered a mic to review from Amazon that they decided to end-zone spike on my step and it came flying out the side of the manufacturer's packaging. That's not a good thing. But in this case, I actually think it would survive such a delivery, because if I just pull this tab right here to get inside, you'll see that everything is actually very well padded. In fact, if I get this out of the way, look at this. There's so much additional foam. This is relatively open cell, but I'd say it's closer to closed cell, and it does a great job protecting from impacts. But that's enough gushing about the packaging. Let's get into what you get in this kit. In this kit, you receive an UHURU branded pop filter, a wind puff, a boom arm threaded at 3/8 of an inch with a 3/8 to 5/8 adapter, a shock mount, a USB-A to USB-B cable that includes a ferrite core to eliminate interference, and of course the microphone itself. But enough about the accessories, let's focus on the microphone itself. Mainly because the other accessories are the standard fare you're going to be finding in kits like this, and they all do their job perfectly. Heck, I tested out the boom arm with a Blue Yeti and it held its place for hours. And that mic weighs multiple times what this one does, even with the shock mount. Now before I go any further, I want to address the elephant in the room. Now this shell might look a little bit familiar to those of you who follow low-cost microphones, and, well, you'd be right. This is the same shell used on microphones like the BM700, the NW700, and NW7000. And if you don't believe me, well, I just so happen to have an NW7000 right here. And they're identical down to the cage design. I know, not very creative, but at the same time, it kind of looks like the NW7000 had a baby with the Fifine K670, and I'm not gonna lie, I really like it. I've always been a fan of the BM700's design, but I'm not so keen on the high gloss finish and the high shine on the cage. On the other hand, a satin black and brushed nickel finish is kind of a weakness of mine when it comes to aesthetics. But I'll save these microphones for future videos and just focus on the UM900 for now. Now, I've already pointed out aesthetic changes with the UM900, but the biggest change is actually on the inside. Because, well, first and foremost, unlike the BM700, this is actually a USB microphone, making it a good bit more similar to the NW7000 I just showed you. But the audio resolution is on a completely different level here, because the UM900 has a maximum recording resolution of 192 kHz, 24-bit, also known as high-res studio audio. To put those numbers into perspective, the Blue Snowball has a maximum resolution of 44.1 kHz, 16-bit, also known as CD quality audio, and the Blue Yeti has a maximum resolution of 48 kHz, 16-bit, also known as DVD quality audio. Okay, technically you could get the Blue Yeti Pro, which does have a maximum resolution of 192 kHz, 24-bit, but that's gonna cost you $250 as opposed to $50. And I guess you can justify the price difference by the fact that the Blue Yeti Pro has 4 pickup patterns, whereas this just has the single cardioid pickup pattern, as well as the ability to be used over XLR, but first off, you're probably not going to be using anything other than the cardioid pickup pattern, and if you're looking at a USB microphone, odds are you don't have a way to hook up XLR anyway. And let's not forget the fact that all of those microphones mentioned previously don't come with things like a boom arm, shock mount, pop filter, etc., all for $50. Anyway, let's move on to the testing portion of this video. First up, the pickup pattern test. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is apologize for the fact that a freak thunderstorm decided to roll through as I was setting up for this test, but fortunately that's only going to affect the pickup pattern test. I recorded all of the other tests previously and there's no issues with those. Also, it's kind of fitting that this happened because the song that I use for this test is called Thor's Hammer. Anyway, I've got the microphone hooked into a hard mount using the recessed M22X threads on the bottom that I forgot to mention earlier, and it's hooked into my laptop using the 2-meter long USB cable that came with it. And of course, I have my phone hooked up to the speaker stick. So, let's get this started, shall we? Alright, looking at the waveform for this test, that definitely looked like a cardioid pickup pattern to me, and it probably sounded like one to you. And that definitely explains why this mic has been really good about not picking up background noise. Because when I was testing it out prior to this video, I was using it on my desktop, which doesn't exactly have the quietest fans on it, and you really couldn't hear them. They were at such a low level that I completely eliminated them using a single noise removal pass with Audacity, and I didn't even introduce any artifacts to the ends of my words. Now let's get on to the more in-depth audio test, shall we? And welcome to Audacity. Now at the moment I'm recording the UM-900 at 96 kHz 24-bit, but seeing as how YouTube is going to be compressing the audio anyway, I'm actually going to be exporting this at 48 kHz 16-bit before getting everything ready to upload. And I know you're probably wondering why I'm going through that many steps, and that's simply because, in theory, I should end up with a better sounding video than had I just recorded everything at 48 kHz 16-bit to begin with. Anyway, enough about the jargon, let's talk about jargon. Right now, I've got the microphone's digital gain set to 100% simply because this is not as sensitive as a lot of the other condenser microphones I've used, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've used this with my super loud desktop computer, and heck, I was doing some testing a moment ago when the refrigerator was on behind me because I don't have the best recording setup, and yet I couldn't hear either appliance. So yeah, that's really good. I'm about 4 inches away from the microphone right now to take advantage of the proximity effect, though if I moved about a foot back, it's still not terrible. I seem to be coming in the -18 to -12 decibel range, and that's about where I like having things when I finally export my audio. But if I'm in closer, I can be a little bit quieter and just a bit more intimate. Heck, with the resolution on this microphone, I wonder how it would do an ASMR. How's the hair on the back of your neck feeling? That felt creepy for me to do. Anyway, let's hop over to Fritcher. And welcome to Fritcher. Now this time around, the manufacturer was kind enough to include a frequency response graph in the manual, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that up right about now. Looking at these two side by side, it's kind of uncanny how similar they are, especially that little hump you occasionally see at the higher frequencies. And that kind of attention to detail tells me that the manufacturer actually measured this microphone and didn't just slap something on the paper saying, "That'll do." And this is a very flat pickup pattern, which means that we're going to be getting a very true-to-life response, and that's great for 90% of the content creation out there. Yes, you are going to want to do a little bit of post-processing to bring out the richness of everything, but I could go as is and sound pretty friggin' good, especially when you take into account that I can record up to 192 kHz 24-bit, which gives me more overhead to play around with in post. All on a $50 microphone. To put this into perspective, I have another USB microphone that captures at 192 kHz 24-bit. It's called the Blue Yeti Pro. Now that one retails for $250 if you don't find it on eBay like I did for $40 because they thought it was broken. Here's a hint. It wasn't. Anyway, for my personal use, I am only going to be doing cardioid pickup patterns, and I've done side-by-side testing with both of these microphones, and I don't think the Yeti Pro sounds $250 better. Yeah, okay, you could probably break it down to $50 a pickup pattern, but that has 4 pickup patterns. There's a $50 pickup pattern missing in there somewhere. Maybe that's the surcharge for being able to use it over XLR. I don't know. But what I do know is I really want to do a head-to-head battle with those two at some point. Do you want to see me do that? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough through both this part of the video and the previous one. I feel like I might be getting a little bit manic. I might have been standing upright and talking for long periods of time that you haven't seen, and I might be getting a little lightheaded. So, I'm going to get back to testing the other microphones because I don't know what's good for me. And until next time, this is your guy, Cly, signing off.